New York City is the most densely populated major city in the United States. It is the birthplace of hip-hop and has historically served as a hotbed of activity for many social movements, including the Black Panther Party and the Malcolm X grassroots movement, fighting to make the city's streets safe and prevent police brutality. Contrary to what the mainstream media may tell you, crime in New York City is going down. Violent crime has decreased in the last 12 years, and the murder rate in 2005 was at its lowest level since 1963. Despite this dramatic decrease, many local residents and community organizers I interviewed in New York reported increased harassment, brutalization, and incarceration by the police. While the police can serve a vital role in maintaining law and order, excessive force, racial profiling, and other abuses undermine the legitimacy of the police and threaten vital civil liberties.
If they rolled in here today and started shooting and kill one of our people here today, the guys and women are going to stand up and defend the people. And if you do that, you're a goddamn criminal.
When they come to our neighborhoods, they make our people feel uneasy. When they roll through you, when you got driving in your car, you uneasy when you see their car.
If I go outside right now in my community, I'm going to see, if I stay outside for 2 hours, I'm going to see the police van go around and make a sweep.
I've definitely been involved in several altercations where the police have exercised excessive force. I've had police pull guns on me before. I've had police point guns in my head before since I was a child. We was just little kids walking through the park. We was just playing a simple game to see who was faster. We had a race, and all of a sudden a police car came in and jumped the curb. Immediately they started asking questions like, who'd y'all rob? The cop in the car asked him to come near the window, and he grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and pulled him in, and he started hitting him in the head with a nightstick. He held his head like that in the lock and started smacking him in the head with the nightstick. He started slapping him. He said, yo, give me your phone number. He started asking him all these questions, and his partner thought it was funny.
These stops, for the most part, are police-initiated stops, which means that the police themselves decide who they're going to stop and when they're going to stop people. They're not based on crime reports. They're not based on phone calls that they're getting. They're not based on descriptions of folks. They're based really on their decision to stop people in the community, which is a form of harassment, we believe, and a form of control, a form of saying we're the biggest gang on the block and we're going to show everybody how we want you to behave and how we're going to make sure that you stay in line and know your place in this community.
The Malcolm X grassroots movement was founded in 1993 by a group of organizers, activists, and artists.
Basically, we're a human rights organization. We struggle around implementing, supporting the human rights of African people in the United States. The Black community is one of the most over-policed communities in this country. When we look at New York City in particular, over the last 3 years, 1.5 million people, New Yorkers I should say, have been stopped and detained. Of that 1.5 million, 90% have been Black and Latino. And of that 1.5 million, 90% have not been issued any summonses or arrested, which means that the police are stopping people without what's called reasonable suspicion. And so they're stopping people on the street, harassing them, illegally searching them. The police say that they're doing this because they're trying to bring down crime or because they have reports that incidents are taking place. We don't believe that based on what we know that that's what's happening.
Rebel Diaz is a hip-hop group currently working in the Bronx with youth on issues such as immigration, education, and housing that directly impact this working-class community. On June 18, 2008, two members of the Rebel Diaz trio, brothers Rod Stars and G1, both sons of Chilean political exiles, were beaten and arrested by New York City police officers after coming to the aid of a street vendor selling fruit, being harassed by the NYPD.
What happened to them right here in Westchester where we were at happens to people every day, all day.
The police, we have to understand, are agents that, you know what I'm saying, enforce the rules of the system. That's what they do, you know what I'm saying? And it's a system that's not built for our people to strive under. It's a system that's built for our people to fail. Here we are today, 2008, you know what I'm saying, where a black man can get shot 50 times and the murderers that killed him walk the streets freely. You know what I'm saying? So that sets the standard for what type of society we live in which it's okay for that to happen.
The only time you really hear about police misconduct in New York is unfortunately when someone is murdered by the police. And then the media comes out and they'll tell the story.
New York police officers, they've done it again. They've shot another unarmed black man in a hail of gunfire. But hold on, because before you jump to any conclusions on this one, we need to give you some details and some research we have looked through. Last night, 5 police officers fired 20 bullets at an 18-year-old man who lunged toward them. They hit him 10 times.
Remember the Los Angeles riots after the police officers who beat up Rodney King were let free? The city of New York is waiting breathlessly tonight in anticipation of a decision that people fear could possibly plunge the city into violence. A grand jury is currently deciding whether or not to charge 5 police officers with the November shooting of 23-year-old Sean Bell outside of a Queens nightclub. Police fired 50 shots at Bell after his car ran into an unmarked police vehicle.
After the Sean Bell killing a year or so ago, the city council en masse came out and said that they were going to pass some legislative reform measures on police misconduct. But they've only come out after someone has been killed by the police. And as the momentum, let's say, for justice dies down after the marches and the media goes away, a lot of these folks also go away. So we think it's really important to keep the drumbeat of what's happening going and to hold these folks' feet to the fire and make sure that they come out with some legislative changes that can really stop some of the police misconduct from happening.
Concerned individuals and groups across the country have taken policing the police into their own hands.
I think it's important for people to do 3 things. Organize, organize, organize.
Don't go home and turn on no PlayStation. Don't go home and talk about, yeah, I was at the rally, see my t-shirt? Go home and get in the hood and organize another rally.
We talk about everything else, organizing this, organizing that, but we're not talking about the basic fundamental information that people need to know in order to feel protected, like they have a right.
Young people gotta know their rights, you know what I mean? Understand that you don't have to go through an illegal search by these police officers, you know? You don't have to open a door.
Because a lot of times you talk about solutions being, oh, well, let's have some reforms within the police department, let's have these different training, you know what I'm saying? And we understand that those aren't solutions because the inherent function of the police, you know what I'm saying, is to defend the interests of those with property, of those with wealth, you know what I'm saying? And that needs to be taken into account when we're talking about solutions to these problems.
My first real experience, I think, with police brutality was documented in a project I did called the Police State Chronicles, wherein I collected almost 1,000, we pretty much did 1,000 stories of police brutality from people all over the country in an attempt to prove that this is not an isolated incident. This is an incident that represents a gross negligence on the part of the government to regulate police and a lack of effort upon the community itself to become more assertive about policing the police department, because it's obviously incapable of policing itself.
We patrol the police. We videotape their activities. We hand out Know Your Rights information for people who are stopped by the police. If something does happen and someone is arrested, we also provide legal help or legal support for folks. We also do Know Your Rights workshops for people. So we'll go to different communities, different schools, and we'll do Know Your Rights workshops to help people understand what their basic rights are when they're confronted by the police on the street.
So our main thing is just to not stay silent, to combat this oppression vocally, you know what I mean? And what better way to do it than using the culture that we grew up immersed in, which is hip hop.
What we're talking about, like rights and social justice, it takes hip hop, which is what we're doing. It takes hip hop to be able to like pull them in through the beats, and then from there, be able to educate them on social justice issues or their rights.
Nothing's really going to change. I don't care what politician gets elected, what office it is, unless you're an organized force in some capacity, unless you can demonstrate the ability to make people know that your issues are important to them, then nothing's really going to change.
The fact of the matter is, these cops out here to hunt you down right now. At this particular time, they come through every day and they do a sweep on their beat, so get off the block. You know what I mean? It's really, truly could be that simple.
Be involved in your community and really look at success as building your community from within.
Young folks, take the lead, take the torch. make this a marvelous life of struggle.
We have to make our streets, wherever our people of color live, streets of freedom.
Make this a jam.
Brick by brick, wall by